another video on the dumplings that I made. So, are the dumplings? Yeah, they are. Yeah, the bread dumplings. I like Austrian bread dumplings. They were nice. They're very nice actually. But I just kind of thought, can we make them just a little bit softer? So by putting a little bit more liquid in, or putting a little less bread in. So that's kind of my kind of thoughts. And I thought if we're doing it, we'll just have a play around. And I put spinach in them last time, and I've got chives in the garden. So chives are free because they're going in the garden. So let's make a chive dumplings instead of spinach dumplings. So that'll kind of cut the cost down. And then I make my homemade yogurt as well. So let's use homemade yogurt instead of milk in the dumplings. Last time I used milk with some feta pureed into it. So, but let's use yogurt this time and kind of see what happens. So, and an egg. So, what was the recipe? There's 100 grams worth of dried bread. There's 65 grams worth of yogurt, and there is 100 grams of bread and salt and pepper in there. And then there's 60 grams of chives in there. That seems quite a bit. Let's put in half that. So let's put in about 30 grams. That seems quite a lot. But we'll see how we go. We can always add a little bit more bread. And it's just a case of mixing all together, and then the bread softens, and then we can knead it all together into and form it into dumplings. So hopefully, I suppose how soft they are kind of depends on how dry the bread is. So the bread it's stale, it's a little bit dried, so it's about as dried as last time, but they're probably a little bit bigger cubes for whatever reason. There's some bread that I pulled out of the freezer. I didn't bake fresh bread this time. It smells good. It smells good. And then we'll poach it in some. I've got some stock actually. I've got some stock left over from work this week, which I cooked the carrots in again. So I think we'll use that stock. That looks quite a good amount of chives to go in there. I just kind of thought, well, you've got to buy this spinach, haven't you? Which kind of puts the price up. But then essentially, I mean, so I'm kind of, I like quite the constraints of using. It's not going to make too many dumplings. It's not going to be enough for my dinner. I'll have to make a bit more. I have got some more bread, so that's okay. We might make double the amount. So we'll see how these turn out, and then I might make some more, just to kind of double the amount. Do I need to? No, it's about the right amount of chives, isn't it? Yeah, so I quite like the idea of the constraints of limited ingredients and a limited budget. I think it's dead easy just to kind of buy really kind of expensive ingredients and turn them into wonderfully tasting meals, which is kind of like a lot of what more people do these days. But when I was training, first head chef that I worked for, it was more about getting the most out of your ingredients. I see that's a lot softer than the other one, but I think softer is not a bad idea because the egg will kind of hopefully hold it together. So yeah, and there's less greenery in this time, so there will be smaller, won't they? Yeah, so the first head chef that I worked for, he was a brilliant head chef to work for as when I was young. I still use his lessons of life now actually, and his philosophies on life and how he kind of worked in a kitchen, and it was always about making the most out of things. So what could you do with like a limited budget and kind of limited ingredients, and kind of maximize what you were doing to give people a really good meal and also keep your bosses happy, because your food cost was kind of quite low, and my first head chef was very good at that. So that's always kind of stuck with me. What he could make with, what he could do with things and turn them into a meal was kind of quite remarkable. So I'm going to go swimming, surprise. So we'll roll these up, and then I think they are a lot softer. Although they will toughen up. They seem a bit softer than last time. They will toughen up when I let them to set. I'm going to leave them to set in the fridge. And I suppose what we could do is do a second batch, couldn't we? I'm going to let them set in the fridge when I go swimming. So what we could do, I suppose we could make a second batch and use even less bread, couldn't we? And then kind of see how that turns out. So then we've got two kind of comparisons. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Yeah, so I'll do 75 grams of bread and the same amount of liquid, and we'll kind of see how that turns out. But these are going to be, so what will happen is, I mean, the bread hasn't completely soaked up all the liquid yet. And if we put them in the fridge for an hour, it's going to soak up more of the liquid over time, just through the process of osmosis. Is that the right word? You know, so the bread will become softer. But that'll mean it'll harden up a little bit. So I'll do another batch with less bread, and then we're going to see how those turn out. But they feel like they're going to hold together. And as soon as the egg starts cooking, it will bind them together. So hopefully they won't just kind of boil to bits in the stock that we're going to cook them in. So yeah, so I'm much more interested in washing hands. What we can do with kind of limited ingredients and a limited budget, because you haven't always got limitless money and limitless ingredients in the cupboard. And if you have like a stock of things, of certain basic ingredients in the cupboards and in the fridge, I kind of think you really should be able to pull those ingredients together, and it makes kind of something kind of quite interesting, which is certainly a project that I'm rolling forward, you know, kind of actively trying to kind of do, limited budget, limited ingredients. So this is kind of what it is, but it kind of strays away from it. I suppose it's so. Do I really want to? Yes, I will talk about this. So, so you can buy flour and you can make your own bread. But you can do a lot more with that flour than just baking bread. So flour is one of those basic ingredients that you kind of should have in the cupboard. So therefore, we're using breadcrumbs in this. So therefore, that comes from the bread. That comes from the flour. It's a stretch, and you don't just buy a pot of herbs and use them in cooking. What you do is you plant them in the garden, and then you've got those herbs lasting for moving forward. And then the yogurt comes from milk, which you buy, and you keep a yogurt culture, and then you can create your own yogurt. And so the yogurt comes from the milk, and the milk's in the basic ingredients that kind of you should have in the house. So that's kind of, it's a little bit of a stretch in imagination from that point of view, but that's kind of what we're doing anyway. It's limited budget, it's limited ingredients. We can turn those ingredients into things to turn into other things in other dishes. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So I'll do another batch. You don't need to see that, and then we'll kind of be able to compare them when we're cooking them and when I'm back from swimming. And hungry, probably very hungry by that time. We have cooked the first batch. So they've been poaching for about 15 minutes. I've only done 3 because I kind of thought, well, we're swimming, and I was kind of thinking what we should do is we should have a go at frying them. So I've kept 2 back. These are the ones with even less bread in, so like 75 grams worth of bread. So they can go in, and we'll poach those for 15 minutes. So we've got the timer on, and we'll see how those turn out, and then we can have a judge if we're going to put those in the deep fat fryer. So how do these taste? Oh, they've gone a bit rubbery. Okay, they've gone a bit rubbery. That's because of the egg. Nice though. They're nice though, but they've just gone that little bit rubbery, and that's because of the egg. So that's kind of quite interesting. Maybe less egg would make them softer. Maybe less egg. Oh, we'll cook those. I don't know 400 bits, that's fine. Right, so I'll get a pan on the back, and I'll put some oil in it, and we'll deep fry one of each, and we'll see how well we'll go. So, and then we'll know And they are softer, they've just gone a little bit rubbery. So, but let's not waste the opportunity. Let's heat the deep fry as well. But the yogurt works, so that's fine. So that's something we've learned, and that's okay. No, stuff to do, and then we're back and we'll deep fry. So hopefully this oil isn't too hot. So I've got just enough oil to completely submerge them. So they're not going to deep fry. And I don't want to use a smaller pan, but it looks like it's frying all right. So we can just turn it over. As long as we remember which ones are which, we can fry them like that, can we? And we'll turn them over, and I'm sure they'll be fine. These are almost coming up to ready, so we'll give those a turn over so they get completely cooked all the way through. Although cooked's the wrong word, isn't it? It's more of a reheating. I mean, the egg's raw, but you know, the rest of it's cooked. Those are definitely ready. I've just turned the wrong one off. Which are which? Those are at the back, weren't they? Those are the smaller ones. So those are the ones with less bread in. Certainly gone crispy. They've gone crispy, so that's good, isn't it? And then how far are we off? Oops. Boiling a little bit too much. They're almost ready. They haven't fallen to bits, that's okay. So, how do these taste? Nice and crispy. With basically fried bread, isn't it? Basically fried bread. Not hot, but that's pretty good, is that? So, let's pull these out and see what we think. Cool slightly. So they haven't boiled themselves to bits, so that's a good thing. Although I'm expecting those to be even slightly more rubbery than the first batch. So, this is the second batch deep fried. Probably should have them on camera. Second batch is nicer. Wonder why that is. Yeah. Not as rubbery. Not as rubbery. So, how do these taste? They don't feel as rubbery somehow. I wonder why that is. I would have thought that with the, because essentially these have got more egg in because of the ratio of the bread to egg, so they should be more rubbery, but they're nicer and they're softer. Oh, I'll just finish first. So essentially what I've made is like I've made a stuffing bowl, bread, and what we call it, and herbs, which is something like you kind of, you know, like as part of a roast, a Christmas Day meal. You know, I've essentially made a stuffing bowl. Mum makes a lemon and parsley stuffing bowl, which are breadcrumbs, suet, parsley, fresh parsley, and lemon zest, and they're delicious, and they kind of crisp up because of the suet in them. She roasts them anew and they crisp up, and they're delicious. So essentially we've done that, but bound it with egg, and then it's got the yogurt in as well. So it works. And I kind of think the one with less breadcrumbs in is nicer. So that was that one, I'm sure. Yeah, that feels harder. That feels slightly softer. So, or maybe it's the because of the chives, there's more chives per weight in there as well. So maybe that stops it from being too kind of held together. But they're nice. They're really nice, actually. They're really nice. I'm not going to put any more in my mouth just yet because I'm carrying on talking. So there's a tolerance of egg to milk with cheese in, cream to breadcrumbs. There's a tolerance to do that, and we can put in fresh herbs as well. So we don't have to put spinach in, which kind of puts the price up if we put spinach in, but if we put herbs in from the garden, cheaper. So we would use, so like parsley would work well, chives, any kind of not too powerful herbs. I mean, obviously chives are a little bit powerful, but not as powerful as something like sage or rosemary, you know, or thyme. You know, like that. You have to use a lot less of those. So we can get away with using more things like parsley or chives, and they work deep fried as well. So I was going to put it in my mouth again, and I'm going to carry on talking. So a success, because I've learned a few things, and I think I'll come back and we'll kind of revise it again. So I think what we'll do is the next time we do it, we'll do less egg for bread. So we might up the bread and the yogurt content and keep it at 1 egg. So we might go up to 150 with the what we call it, with the breadcrumbs, and 1 egg, and do 65, 70 grams worth of yogurt, and then kind of try it that way and see what happens then. And see if we can lose that little bit of rubberiness and make them a little bit softer. But they're nice, you know. I'm going to enjoy eating them. Although I'm not just going to eat those, I'm going to have to have something else. But anyway, so a success, and also a success because then we get to have a play around again. The problem is when something is a success, then that's the end of it. Whereas I kind of quite like if it's something that leads on to something else, and get something to get my teeth into, literally